We're talking about traffic, because traffic is the #1 problem. It really is. We're a growing community. We've got various events. Traffic backs up. I know you had an issue in District 2. It bleeds over into District 1 on the west side. But with respect to the Blue Angels, I mean, we have to be very, very careful. As you know, I don't want to do anything to jeopardize that mission. And with the Department of Defense contributing 52% to our economy, we have to be careful. But I think there are ways to manage that traffic, which will improve the traffic flow through District 1 and 2. And, you know, I understand there's a meeting on Monday. If obviously I can't come if you're going to be there, and you're going to be there and I'm not invited, but I will give my 2 cents worth here. The traffic going to those shows should be pulled onto the base. There's a long, Radford's a long road into the museum parking lot, and you can do the vetting there that gets those people off of our roadways. The pinch point is that back gate. They should also, I mean, I know it's a tough sell, and I know the captain has a lot of responsibilities and security issues, but the front gate access should be restored, and that will take the pressure off Gulf Beach Highway, Sorrento Road, Perdido Key Drive. But if there's a way to perhaps just do a cursory ID as you go through that back gate, it's segregated all the way down Radford. They've got parking. You know, they've just got it segregated, so you wouldn't be able to pull off. And I think that's a long road that would hold a lot of cars, and then you put the pinch point at the museum parking lot, and then they can do the final vetting. If that's something that you could broach with them, I think that's the solution. Anything else, like moving the practice sites, I certainly would not support, Mike. I don't want to do anything that jeopardizes that mission. The Blue Angels are too important to our community. Any thoughts on that? Well, since we can talk.
Yeah, so I don't want to make an independent decision, but I will tell you what I did. Obviously, I don't know if anyone else, I'm sure you got some calls.
I've had a lot of calls.
I've never had more calls in this job than in the last week on this. I mean, I think we probably had 80 to 100 calls, probably 50 emails. And so Congressman Gates' office called the office and said, what are you doing? It's a multifaceted approach, because obviously it's federal government. They have to worry about force protection. That's the #1 mission first. But Commissioner Bergash is right. We don't want to do anything to compromise the Blue Angels or the, you know, the museum that we got to back open. But there's multiple options here. That's one. There's options. I actually think the front gate. I don't believe that when the base CO got the approval to do the west gate, that was in the best interest. You got a 4-lane road basically for 100 miles until you get to Navy and Brancas, and then for the next 15 miles to the Alabama border, you go through residential property in 2 lanes. I mean, it just doesn't even make sense. But that's what they agreed to. So we'll bring that up, and that would provide some relief, maybe. But that's not a decision that the skipper can make. He has to get that from higher authority.
But the problem is, next week we have defense communities in D.C. We're up there lobbying for $50 million for a hangar on the base. Yep. At the same time, if residents are calling saying, I heard, you know, I was inconvenienced by traffic from the jets. I mean, it's just the cognitive dissonance that we don't need. We're trying to protect those missions. We're trying to advocate for millions of dollars. That's why I'm going to D.C. next week. $50 million for that base to help build a hangar for the Blue Angels. Yeah. People are calling, and you know, you know, we've got to be intelligent about it. And we don't want to talk about moving practices. We want to keep them right there. There's more intelligent ways to use the space that's there on that base. And I would simply say there was a mini enclave project for many years. I watched them build it. They have separate checkpoints on Radford coming through and on Taylor. There's ways to do it and bring that bottleneck from that back gate to the gigantic museum parking lot and get those cars off of our roads. I mean, if they want to make all the, you know, the money for MWR out there, then they got to help us with that. And I think that's a solution that you could bring Monday that makes sense.
Look, it's going to be an all hands on deck. I know, Chris, I want to give you some credit. You put some stuff together from engineering quickly. I appreciate that on Gulf Beach Highway. The sheriff knows. No one was blaming him. I mean, we had a conversation, and he wants to be engaged in some whatever capacity he can. But I agree. I don't believe it's the sheriff's fault. But I also think he wants to be part of the solution, like everyone else, because everyone knows the threat. It's a real threat. And there's other stuff that you could limit the amount of capacity that comes on the base. Just like you buy a concert ticket, there's a screening process that the base CO shared with me that they have to do to ask every single vehicle, no matter what. It's a requirement.
Do that at the museum.
Well, that's got to be approved through the SECO up to the CNIC and up for force protection. And so that's a base CO thing that he has to do. I can't talk for that, but I do understand that because I've done SECO agreements on the base for Rock and Fly for 7 years. And so that would have, I don't even think he has the authority to approve that. I'm not sure. I think he has to go to CNIC. So, but I think he's probably working with the security officer on the base to come up with some of those options that you're discussing. So it'll be a healthy discussion, but couldn't agree more. No one wants to lose anything on the base. It affects all of our communities, not just District 2. When you're talking about that kind of money that comes in, but it's the students that actually bring the money in. If you ever heard Lucky or myself, the Blue Angels are a recruitment tool, but they're our image in this community. They're on our logo for the county. But what actually is the mission of the base is to train, equip, and support the warfighter. And that's it. That's what it is. And that's the 60,000 students that come through here, the GS employees, the SES, the officers that are out there every day training, that eventually some of these people go out to Whiting Field, a lot of them that train eventually out at NAS. So I totally get it. Trust me, I spent more time on that base as an XO, as an OIC, as the biggest fundraiser. Got married on the base. I'm going to be planted out there someday. So I love the base. I don't want to lose anything on the base. So there's no one more committed not losing anything. But the citizens that live around the base are very frustrated. And so they need to hear that we care.
And Mike, I mean, here's the reality. I mean, and you represent those citizens that live there. But let me just tell you, we can't promote the naval base as one of our #1 tourist attractions. And let me tell you, this board has been very generous. I know since Commissioner Berry and I have been on this board, to the Flight Academy, the Naval Museum. You can't make it inconvenient and continually to say that you want tourists to come and inconvenient citizens. We know the #1 priority of any base is the protection and safety of our country. But as Jeff said, we have to be innovative. It's not anybody's fault. It's not the federal government. It's not the state government. It's not the county. But we have to work together, and they have to compromise. I'm telling you, it's very. I think my aide and I went out to a birthday party at the Officers Club, for a 100th-year birthday party. It's inconvenient to get on. It's just very inconvenient to get on. And so if we live our life in fear, I mean, because of what happened, I mean, we'll always be that will be inconvenient. I'm not going to live my life in fear no matter what happens. That's right. I mean, I don't live in fear. And so the reality of it is we need to work that out. I mean, we've given millions of dollars for tourist dollars for the Flight Academy and for the Naval Museum. So we've given our part. So we have been active partners, and unfortunately, you're having that issue of traffic. But I tell you, people that I represent, we can't get on the base. You know what I mean? And so we have to decide whether or not we want citizens and locals to come on the base and enjoy the amenities, or do we not want them on the base? But you can't make it so challenging that I can't get on the base. And, I mean, it's 2 days worth of paperwork. I mean, your IDs, and then you got to wait in a line, and then you get bottlenecked. I mean, and then you come and you say you want tourist dollars, and you want people to come to this base. You want people to come to the Flight Academy. That's inconsistent with actually what you're doing. And so I hope that you would deliver that message, because it is very inconvenient. And let me just tell you, I have friends across this country. I mean, I have a lot of military friends. My mentors are all admirals. It's not as difficult on every base as it is on this base, I mean, to get in. And so it takes the local community to work with this. I mean, not only the CO, I mean, he's the XO or the CO, but I mean, the guys that are doing the day-to-day operations that understand. Yeah. I mean, you have to talk to those people as well, to not just talking to the leaders. You got to talk to the operators as well.
You're absolutely correct. When I was down in Key West for the commissioning of the Higbee, I talked to Secretary Del Toro about this, and you're absolutely right. I ran a half marathon in San Antonio, and we ran right through the base. And as you got on the base and the airport, the general said, "Thank you for coming. Come to the museum at Fort Sam Houston." And then it is complicated, but I will not throw Captain Village under the bus, because I know this is way higher than him for the security. But you're correct. According to Darren over at Visit Pensacola, the museum's the second highest visited site in Escambia County.
We spend millions of dollars promoting the base.
Yeah, I know.
You're taking millions of tax dollars to promote something that it's inconvenient for people to access. That's inconsistent. And I mean, I don't know how you can be supportive. I mean, it needs to be accessible. And now, safety first, I agree with you. But we need to work that out. I mean, as Jeff said, be innovative. I mean, you know, someone that's sitting at the Pentagon doesn't understand that you can move a pinch point past the Naval Museum, that they won't even get into the high security areas.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
I mean, so I mean, there are innovative ways that you can do it, but there's a lack of communication, and that's your deal. You're ex-military. It's your district. But I would hope that you would convey that.
Oh, I
Because
will.
there's opportunities. I mean, because people want to. I mean, I think that people should enjoy their naval base that live here.
I
But
concur
people that
with
live here don't even want to go there because it's so inconvenient.
No, when I drive through the front gate, and I live right by there, it's 20 minutes. And you're like, it is inconvenient. But I've just grown to accept that because it's just, you know, part of the mission sometimes. But what I really want to do is articulate the support, because kind of what Commissioner Burgage said, I know that the county supported the base. We've done it with the TPO, right? And so we want to make sure that message is there. And so, because things can get out of control pretty easy, and the NSP CUS study didn't really help us at all, in my opinion. So I get it, and I'll articulate that message the best I can.
Well, you have our support. What we're saying to you